What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series, March 14th, 1947. Bob Foxworth. He's to your right. And Bob Satterfield, the free-swinging slugger, is to your left. And these men would get it on March 14th, 1947. But let's meet Bob Foxworth. He was born November 14th, 1923 in Portland, Clinton, Ohio. He died December 30th, 1988. He was 65 years of age at the time of his death, and he would be a light heavyweight that stood 6 foot. Now, he was out of East St. Louis, Illinois. He would face Bob Satterfield. At the time, Bob Satterfield had a fighting record of 14-3-1. He'd be stopped in the very first round. Now, the thing with Bob Satterfield, and we'll go through his career in a moment. Now, he was born November 9th, 1923, same year. He died June 1st, 1977. He had a fighting record of 79 total bouts, 50 wins, 25 losses, 4 draws with 35 knockouts, did Bob Satterfield. And believe it or not, he was stopped 13 times himself. He fought out of Chicago. And he would fight fighters such as Dale Hall. Dale Hall had a fighting record at that time of 29 wins, 12 losses with 5 draws. Johnny Summerlin, 30 wins, 4 losses with 2 draws. Harold Carter, 18 wins, 2 losses with 2 draws. He would meet Julio Mendoza. He would have a fighting record of 20-16 with 3. Phenomenal fighter was Bob Satterfield because he took on all comers. He even fought Nino Valdez. Nino Valdez had a fighting record of 32-9-3. And these two men fought at the Chicago Stadium. And he would defeat Nino Valdez. He would face Paul Andrews. Paul Andrews had a fighting record of 36-0 at the Memorial Stadium in Buffalo, New York. He would defeat him by knocking him out in a few rounds. And he would fight Paul Andrews December 6, 1955. He would face Johnny Holman. Very fast puncher was Johnny Holman. He fought him November 10th, 1954. Johnny Holman had a fighting record of 19-9-1. Fought him at the Chicago Stadium. And he would defeat Johnny Holman. Johnny Holman was an up-and-coming heavyweight. He would face Cleveland Williams. Faced him June 22nd, 1954. At the time, Cleveland Williams had a fighting record of 33-1. Fought him at the Auditorium in Miami Beach. And he would defeat Cleveland Williams by knocking him out. Charlie Doc Williams. June 1st, 1954. Doc Williams had a fighting record of 51, 18 losses with 2 draws. Fought him at the Auditorium in Miami Beach as well, and we lost to him. And this is a decision loss. He would face Ezzard Charles. Ezzard Charles had a fighting record of 84-10 with 1. Now, he met up with Ezzard Charles January 13th, 1954. And this would be towards the end of Ezzard Charles' career because Ezzard Charles would face Rocky Marciano that same year. Fought him twice. He would lose to Ezzard Charles. And they would fight at the Chicago Stadium in Chicago, Illinois. But I gotta tell you, the fight between Bob Foxworth and Bob Satterfield was something else. Because both men came out swinging. Bob Foxworth was the type of fighter that he would jab and he would move and he would hold and he would spin you around, but he wouldn't get into a slugfest. But Bob Satterfield would have none of it. And they would get it on. The 3rd round, the 5th round were 2 most exciting rounds in that fight. I just wanted to reminisce a little bit of the fight between Bob Satterfield and Bob Foxworth. 2 very, very good fighters. Bob Satterfield was one of my favorite fighters from the 1950s. because he would not leave that arena until somebody laid on that canvas. Very good fighter was Bob Satterfield. He was originally a light heavyweight, and he took up all challenges in the heavyweight division. Bob Satterfield would face Bob Baker. Bob Baker would be ranked number 2 in 1956 for the heavyweight division. Now, when he fought Bob Baker at the time had a fighting record of 32-1. Fought him at Chicago Stadium, and he would defeat Bob Baker by knocking him out. He fought him July 1st, 1953. Satterfield would face Harold Johnson back-to-back, June 10th, 1952, June 8th, 1952. Incredible, 6 days later. He would face Harold Johnson in Philadelphia Arena. Harold Johnson was from Philadelphia. He would lose to him there. But then he would defeat him in Chicago Stadium in his hometown. Remarkable career did Bob Satterfield have. And Bob Foxworth was equally as good as an opponent, but he did not fight the caliber of opponents that Bob Satterfield would fight. Bob Satterfield would also face Holman Williams, who was an outstanding black murderous old fighter. So you see, we're looking at some dynamic fighters in the 1950s. Salute to these two outstanding club fighters, Bob Satterfield and Bob Foxworth. Salute.